Lyra was an alien princess from the royal family of a peaceful planet called Orith. Her people looked different from humans, with skin and soft shades of blue and purple and bright, curious eyes. Lyra had grown up surrounded by luxury, but she often felt lonely. Many people respected her, but few really understood her thoughts or dreams. She wanted to see more than just the royal palace and learn about worlds far away. One day, when Lyra was younger, she met a human named Jack. Jack had come to Orith as part of a group from Earth, hoping to build good relations between their worlds. Jack was not like the others who visited the palace. He liked simple things and always listened carefully when Lyra talked. He made her laugh with his stories about Earth. Lyra enjoyed his company more than anyone else's. Slowly, they became friends. Over time, Jack earned the trust of Lyra's family and the royal council. They knew he was honest and kind. Lyra and Jack talked often, even when Jack had to go back to Earth. They sent messages through a special device. Lyra always waited for his replies and felt happy when she read them. After many months, Lyra decided she wanted Jack to visit her home again. She had something important to show him, something she could not explain in a message. She sent him a formal invitation, written with her own hand, asking him to come to Orith for a special visit. Jack was surprised to receive the invitation, but he felt excited too. He wondered why Lyra sounded so serious in her message. Jack prepared for the trip carefully. He packed a few clothes and small gifts from Earth, hoping Lyra's family would like them. He also brought a photo of his family to show Lyra what life on Earth looked like. Jack was a little nervous because it was not easy to travel between worlds. Even though he had been to Orith before, he knew that meeting the royal family was a big thing. He wanted to show respect and not make any mistakes. When Jack arrived at the spaceport, he looked around for someone from the royal family. He saw Lyra's friend, a young guard named Kalen, waiting for him. Kalen greeted Jack with a friendly smile and led him to a royal transport. The transport was shaped like a smooth silver shell and floated above the ground. Jack sat by the window, looking out at the alien landscape. Tall trees with glowing leaves grew in neat lines. Small creatures ran across the fields. The air was cool and smelled sweet. As they reached the palace, Jack felt his heart beat faster. The palace was a large, shining building with towers that stretched into the sky. The walls glowed softly in different colors, changing as the sun moved. Jack stepped out of the transport and walked up the long path to the main doors. He remembered the first time he had seen this place and how nervous he had been then. This time, he tried to stay calm, but he still felt a little worried. Inside the palace, servants welcomed Jack and took his bag. Lyra came running down the stairs to meet him. She wore a long dress that sparkled with tiny lights. Her hair was tied back and her eyes were bright with excitement. She hugged Jack and he felt his worries melt away. Lyra told Jack how happy she was to see him. She said she had planned many things for his visit and hoped he would enjoy every moment. Jack thanked her and handed her the small gifts he had brought from Earth. Lyra smiled and promised to share them with her family later. Lyra showed Jack around the palace. She pointed out the paintings on the walls, which showed stories of old kings and queens. She took him to the garden, where strange flowers grew in the shape of stars and moons. Jack touched one of the flowers and it glowed gently under his hand. Lyra laughed and told him that these flowers could sense kindness. Jack said he liked Orith very much, and Lyra's eyes shone even brighter. After the tour, Lyra led Jack to a room where lunch was waiting. The table was covered with dishes from both Orith and Earth. There were fruits that tasted like honey, breads filled with sweet cream, and drinks that bubbled softly. Jack tried everything, even the food that looked strange. He told Lyra he liked her world's food, and she seemed pleased. They talked for a long time. Lyra asked Jack about life on Earth. She wanted to know how people celebrated special days, what children did for fun, and what made humans happy or sad. Jack answered all her questions, sometimes making jokes, sometimes speaking quietly when he remembered something important. Lyra listened to every word. She shared stories about Orith, telling Jack about old festivals and how the people of her world solved problems peacefully. Jack noticed that Lyra's face changed when she spoke about her dreams. Sometimes she looked worried, but then she would smile again, as the afternoon went on. Lyra and Jack walked in the palace gardens. The air was warm and small blue birds sang in the trees. Lyra stopped near a small pond and looked at Jack. She told him that she had invited him for more than just a visit. She wanted to show him something important, something that would only happen that night. Jack was curious but did not ask too many questions. He trusted Lyra and knew she would tell him when the time was right. They returned to the palace, and Lyra said she had to prepare for the evening. She asked Jack to rest in his room. Jack's room was large and filled with soft lights. He lay on the bed and thought about the day. He wondered what Lyra wanted to show him. He guessed it must be a special tradition or a family secret. He felt honored to be trusted by Lyra and her family. While Jack rested, Lyra talked with her parents. She told them that she was nervous about the evening. She hoped Jack would understand what she wanted to share. Her mother hugged her and said she believed in Lyra's choice. Her father smiled and said that trust between worlds started with small steps. Lyra felt a little better. She looked out the window and saw the first stars appear in the sky. Jack woke up as the sky turned dark. He changed into fresh clothes, unsure if he should dress formally. He chose something simple, remembering that Lyra liked things that were not too fancy. Soon, a servant knocked on the door and told Jack that Lyra was waiting for him in the main hall. Jack walked through the quiet palace, his footsteps echoing on the smooth floor. In the main hall, Lyra stood waiting, dressed in a gown that shimmered like the night sky. She smiled at Jack and took his hand. She told him that tonight would be very special. Jack smiled back, feeling calm because Lyra was by his side. Together they walked toward the unknown, ready for whatever surprise Lyra had prepared. They walked. Jack wondered if this night would change his friendship with Lyra. He hoped he would not disappoint her. All he wanted was to be a good friend and to show Lyra's family that humans could be trusted. In his heart, Jack felt proud to have a friend like Lyra, and he was grateful for this new adventure. Jack followed Lyra through the grand halls of the palace, feeling a mix of excitement and nervousness. He could see how the evening was different from his last visit. Lights of many colors shone on the walls, and gentle music floated through the air. The servants wore their best clothes, and the whole place felt full of life. As Jack walked, he tried to remember the customs he had learned the first time he came to Orith. He did not want to make a mistake in front of Lyra or her family. Lyra led Jack to a large room with glass walls that looked out over the glowing gardens. The stars above were bright, and 2 moons hung low in the sky. Many guests had gathered inside the room. Some were from Orith, but a few were humans too, people Jack had met during his work between the 2 worlds. Everyone smiled at Jack and greeted him kindly. Some of the younger guests were curious and shy, but they waved or asked him questions about Earth. Jack saw Lyra's parents standing near a long table. The king had a calm, strong face, and the queen smiled warmly. Lyra brought Jack to them and introduced him again. The king shook Jack's hand and thanked him for coming to Orith. The queen asked Jack about his journey and if he was comfortable. Jack answered politely, feeling the weight of their attention but also their gentle kindness after the greetings. The guests gathered at tables set with food from both Orith and Earth. Jack sat beside Lyra and they tasted new dishes together. Some food was sweet and soft and some was spicy and bright. Jack enjoyed trying everything. He noticed that some guests were watching him carefully, whispering quietly, but Lyra told him not to worry. She said that humans were still new to many people on Orith, and tonight was special for everyone. After dinner, Lyra stood up and called for attention. Her voice was gentle but clear. She said she wanted everyone to welcome Jack as her special guest and that he had come from far away to be with them. Some people clapped, and others nodded with respect. Jack felt his face grow warm, but he smiled and thanked everyone for letting him be part of the evening. Soon, music started to play, and the guests moved to another part of the room. Dancers in flowing clothes spun around, their movements slow and beautiful. Lyra told Jack that this dance was very old and meant to show harmony between different people. Jack watched and clapped when the dancers finished. Lyra asked Jack if he wanted to try a simple dance. He laughed and said he would try, but he was not good at dancing. Lyra took Jack's hand, and they joined the others on the dance floor. The music was soft, and the steps were easy to follow. Jack tried to copy Lyra, and soon he was moving with the group. People laughed and cheered as Jack stumbled a little, but he laughed too and did not feel embarrassed. Lyra smiled at him and said he was doing well. After the dance, they sat down and caught their breath, both feeling happy and relaxed. Later, Lyra introduced Jack to some of her friends. There was Marin, who studied stars, and Layla, who was learning music. They asked Jack about Earth, about the oceans and forests, and about the animals that lived there. Jack told stories about camping trips, rainy days, and silly things that happened at home. Lyra's friends listened with interest, and some even asked if they could visit Earth one day. Jack said he hoped they could. During the evening, Lyra's father came to sit beside Jack. His voice was quiet and serious, and he asked Jack how he felt about Orith and about Lyra. Jack was careful with his words. He said he liked Orith very much and that Lyra was his good friend. He said he wanted to help build trust between their worlds. The king nodded, his face unreadable, and thanked Jack again for coming. As the night grew later, the guests moved outside to the gardens. Small lights floated above the plants, making the garden look magical. Jack walked with Lyra among the flowers and listened to the gentle music coming from inside. Lyra stopped by a quiet fountain and looked at Jack. She said she was glad he came and that she hoped he was enjoying the night. Jack said he was very happy and felt honored to be there with her. Lyra told Jack that there was something important she wanted to share, but she wanted him to meet her family and friends first. She said the next part of the evening was special, and it was a tradition that meant a lot to her people. Jack felt even more curious now. He asked if she was nervous. Lyra nodded and said she hoped everything would go well. When they returned inside, the room had changed. The lights were lower, and people had formed a circle in the center. Lyra stood beside Jack and explained that it was time for the Bond of Worlds ceremony. She said this ceremony was a way for two people from different worlds to show trust and friendship. It was not often done, and never before, between a human and someone from Orith's royal family. Jack felt a new weight of responsibility, but also a sense of honor. He asked Lyra if she was sure, and she nodded with a soft smile. A gentle voice called Jack and Lyra to the center of the room. The guests watched quietly as they stepped forward. A wise elder began to speak, telling the story of how Orith once met travelers from the stars. The elder said that peace between worlds was built on small acts of kindness and courage. He invited Lyra and Jack to sit beside him. They each received a small stone, one blue and one green, as a symbol of their worlds. Lyra took a deep breath and spoke first. She told everyone that she met Jack when she was unsure about humans. She said Jack showed her that humans could be kind, brave, and full of hope. She shared a story about a day when Jack helped her understand a problem at the palace, even though it was hard for him. Lyra said she trusted Jack with her friendship and with the dreams she had for their worlds. Then Jack was asked to speak. He stood up, holding the green stone in his hand. He talked about Earth, about how people sometimes feared what was different. He said meeting Lyra changed his life and showed him that real friendship had no boundaries. Jack told a story about the first time he visited Orith, how he got lost in the gardens, and how Lyra found him and showed him the way. Everyone listened, some smiling and some with tears in their eyes. The elder asked them to place the stones together on a small table. As they did, the stones glowed and soft music played. The guests clapped quietly, and Lyra reached for Jack's hand. She whispered thank you, and Jack smiled back. After the ceremony, there was a quiet feeling of peace in the room. Guests came to shake Jack's hand and thank him for his words. Lyra's parents hugged her, and even the king looked a little proud. The evening ended with more music and laughter. Lyra and Jack walked outside together, looking up at the stars. They both felt that something had changed, not just between them, but between their worlds. As the palace grew quiet, Jack went to his room. He sat by the window, looking at the glowing lights in the garden. He thought about the day and how he was part of something bigger than himself. He hoped that the friendship between Earth and Orth would grow stronger, and he promised himself to always stand by Lyra's side. As he closed his eyes to sleep, Jack felt grateful and ready for whatever would come next. Outside, the stars watched over Orth, shining bright with hope for the future. When morning came, Jack woke up early in his big, quiet room in the palace. Soft blue light came through the windows and the air felt fresh. For a while, he just listened to the strange bird songs outside. The memories of the night before filled his mind. He remembered the way the stones glowed at the ceremony and how everyone had clapped quietly. He wondered what the new day would bring and if it would be as special as the last one. Jack got dressed and walked to the main dining room. Lyra was already there, talking with her mother and eating a simple breakfast. She smiled when she saw Jack. She asked him if he had slept well and if he was ready for another day on Orth. Jack said he felt great, but also a little tired from all the new things. Lyra's mother poured Jack a warm drink that tasted like vanilla and flowers. It made him feel welcome and relaxed. After breakfast, Lyra wanted Jack to meet more of her world. She took him to a part of the palace he had never seen before. They walked through halls with walls that shined like silver and floors covered with soft, mossy carpets. Everywhere they went, people bowed their heads or greeted Lyra with respect. Some of them glanced at Jack and smiled, while others looked at him with wide, curious eyes. Lyra told Jack the people talked about the ceremony from last night. Many were happy and excited, but some were unsure because it was new for a human to take part in such an important tradition. Lyra led Jack to a room filled with beautiful objects. There were paintings of stars, sculptures of animals, and things Jack had never seen before. She showed him a small model of her world, Orth, made out of clear glass. It showed mountains, rivers, and glowing forests. Lyra explained that her people loved to make art about their home and history. She let Jack hold the model, and he turned it in his hands, watching the light shine through it. Then Lyra's father came in. He asked if he could talk to Jack alone. For a few minutes, Lyra nodded and left the room. The king sat with Jack near the window. He looked serious but kind. He told Jack that what happened at the ceremony was very important. He said it showed trust between humans and the people of Orth. He asked Jack if he truly understood what the ceremony meant. Jack thought carefully and answered that he knew it was a promise of friendship and that he wanted to help bring their worlds together. The king nodded and said he believed Jack was honest. He warned Jack that not everyone on Orth would accept change so quickly, but he hoped Jack and Lyra could be patient and brave. When Lyra came back, she saw Jack talking quietly with her father. She looked a little nervous but smiled when she saw them both laughing at the end of their talk. Lyra said there was still much to do. She invited Jack to meet her closest friends, who had arrived at the palace for a small gathering. In a sunny room, Lyra introduced Jack to Marin, who studied the stars, and Layla, who loved music and played a strange round instrument that made soft, ringing sounds. There was also Eli, who made tiny machines that helped take care of plants. Marin asked Jack about the sky on Earth and if people there liked to look at the stars. Jack told her that people often wished on stars at night and that he sometimes did too. Layla played a gentle tune and asked Jack if Earth music was happy or sad. Jack said it could be both, just like music on or it. Eli was curious about the machines on Earth. He asked Jack how humans grew food and kept their cities clean. Jack described farms and gardens and how people tried to take care of nature. The friends listened with interest, and Jack asked them questions about Orth. He learned that Marin wanted to build a big telescope. Layla wanted to write a song for the whole world, and Eli wanted to grow the tallest tree ever seen. As the sun climbed higher, Lyra suggested they all play a game that was popular on Orth. The game used small stones and a glowing board. Each player had to move their stones to different spots, trying to create a bright line of colors. Jack watched the others play and then joined in. He made a few mistakes at first, but Lyra helped him, and soon he understood the rules. Everyone laughed when Eli made a silly move and lost his stones. Jack liked how the game brought everyone together and made him feel like part of the group. After the game, they shared a meal in the garden. There were fruits shaped like stars and soft breads filled with sweet jam. The friends talked about their dreams and hopes for the future. Marin said she wanted to visit Earth someday and look through a telescope at human stars. Layla wanted to write a song about friendship between worlds. Eli wanted to make a garden that could grow both Earth and Orith plants. Jack said he hoped all their dreams would come true. Lyra smiled at him and said that everything felt possible now. After lunch, some of the older guests joined them. Jack noticed that these people watched him closely and asked careful questions. One woman wanted to know why a human should be part of Orith's most important traditions. A man asked Jack if he thought humans and Orithians could ever really trust each other. Jack answered honestly. He said he did not have all the answers, but he believed that real trust started with small steps, like the ones they had taken together. Lyra listened with pride as Jack spoke. She told the guests that she believed in Jack and that their friendship could help bring peace between the two worlds. As the day went on, Lyra took Jack to a quiet place in the palace gardens. There, hidden among tall blue trees, was a small pond with crystal clear water. Lyra sat down and invited Jack to join her. She told him she had something important to say. She said that when she first met Jack, she only wanted to learn about Earth, but after all they had been through, she realized she cared for him deeply. She trusted him more than anyone else, and she wanted to share her dreams with him. Lyra explained that the ceremony from the night before was only the beginning. She wanted Jack to take part in another tradition, a private one, shared only between the closest friends or family. Jack listened quietly, his heart beating fast. Lyra asked if he would stay by her side that night for the promise of unity, a secret ritual her people used to show trust and hope for the future. Jack said he would be honored. As the sun set and the sky turned purple and gold, Jack and Lyra returned to the palace. They prepared for the evening in silence, each feeling the weight of what was to come. Jack wore simple clothes, as Lyra had suggested, and Lyra wore a soft blue dress with small silver stars sewn on it. When it was time, Lyra led Jack through quiet hallways to a small, round room lit by soft, floating lights. Only Lyra's parents and her closest friends were there. Everyone stood in a circle. In the center of the room was a bowl of water, shining with tiny lights from below. Lyra took Jack's hand and spoke quietly. She said that by standing together in this place, they were making a promise to always trust and help each other, no matter what their worlds thought. One by one, each person placed a hand over the bowl of water and shared a hope for the future. Marin hoped for peace, Layla wished for new songs, and Eli wanted new gardens. Lyra wished for a time when all people from both worlds could call each other friends. Finally, Jack spoke. He said he hoped that what they started tonight would lead to a better future, where no one would feel alone or afraid. He promised to stand by Lyra and her people as long as they needed him. Together, Jack and Lyra placed their hands in the bowl of water. The lights grew brighter and everyone in the room smiled. The ceremony ended quietly, but the feeling of hope and trust stayed with them all. As Jack walked back to his room that night, he felt that his life had changed again. He was not just a visitor on Orith, he was part of something much bigger. He knew the days ahead would not always be easy, but he was ready to face them side by side with Lyra and her friends. When Jack woke up the next morning, he felt different. He thought about the private ceremony with Lara and her closest friends. The memory made him smile. He got dressed and looked out the window at the garden. The world of Orith was bright and peaceful. Birds sang and small animals moved quietly through the grass. Jack felt lucky to be there, but he also felt a new responsibility. He was not just a visitor anymore. He was someone who could help bring two worlds closer together. Jack went to breakfast and found Lyra waiting for him. She was talking with her mother, but when she saw Jack, she waved and smiled. Lyra asked Jack if he was ready for a busy day. She said that the king had invited them both to a council meeting. Jack was surprised. He had never been to such an important meeting before. Lyra explained that the council wanted to hear about Jack's world and ask him questions. They also wanted to talk about what happened at the Bond of Worlds ceremony and the promise of unity. Jack felt a little nervous, but Lyra promised she would be with him. After breakfast, Lyra and Jack walked through the palace halls. They reached a large room with high windows and many seats arranged in a circle. Lyra's father, the king, sat at the front. Council members filled the seats, and a few visitors stood along the walls. Everyone became quiet when Lyra and Jack entered. The king welcomed them and asked Jack to sit beside Lyra. The meeting began with the king speaking about peace and hope. He told the council that something new had started between their world and Earth. He explained how Lyra and Jack had shown courage and trust. Then he invited Jack to speak. Jack stood up and told the council about his home. He talked about Earth's beauty and its problems. He said that humans sometimes made mistakes, but they could also be kind and brave. He said he wanted to learn from Orith and share good things from Earth. Some council members asked Jack questions. One wanted to know if humans would welcome people from Orith. Jack answered honestly. He said that some people might be afraid at first, but friendship could change hearts. Others asked about technology, art, and how people on Earth solved problems. Jack answered each question as best as he could. Lyra spoke next. She told the council that Jack was not just her friend, he was someone she trusted deeply. She said the ceremonies they shared were not only about their friendship, but about what could happen when two different worlds worked together. She asked the council to be brave and to look for new ways to build peace. Lyra's words were gentle, but they touched many people. Jack saw some council members nodding and even wiping away tears. The council talked for a long time. Some people were worried. They said that change was hard and that not everyone on Earth was ready to trust humans. Others said that Jack and Lyra's friendship was a sign that it was time to try. The king listened to everyone. Finally, he stood and said that trust must start somewhere, and he believed Lyra and Jack had taken the first step. He thanked Jack for his honesty and asked the council to think about new ways to work with Earth. After the meeting, Lyra and Jack left the council room. Lyra was quiet for a while. Jack asked her if she was all right. Lyra said she was proud, but also tired. She said it was not easy to stand in front of so many people and speak from the heart. Jack told her she did well. Lyra smiled and said she was glad Jack was with her. They went for a walk in the gardens to rest. As they walked, children from the palace came running to see them. They asked Jack about Earth and wanted to play games with him. Jack laughed and joined the children. He showed them how to make paper planes, and they raced the planes across the grass. Lyra watched and felt happy. She saw how much the children liked Jack and how easily he made friends. After playing, Lyra took Jack to a quiet part of the garden. She told him that tonight there would be another event. It was called the Night of Lights. Every year, people from all over Orith came to the palace to celebrate peace and hope for the future. Lyra said this year was special because Jack was there. She wanted him to be part of the celebration. Jack felt honored and a little nervous. He asked what he should do. Lyra said he only needed to be himself and enjoy the night. As evening came, the palace became busy. Servants hung glowing lanterns from trees and along the palace walls. Music played, and tables were set with food and drinks. People arrived from all over Orith. Some wore bright clothes, while others wore simple robes. Everyone brought a small lantern to light when the sky turned dark. Lyra gave Jack a lantern made of glass and silver. She told him it was a gift from her family. As darkness fell, the celebration began. Lyra and Jack walked among the guests, talking and laughing. Jack met people from different cities and villages. Some asked him about Earth, while others simply thanked him for coming. Jack felt welcome, and his nervousness slowly faded. He saw children chasing each other and people dancing under the lanterns. When it was time, Lyra called everyone to gather near the large pond in the palace gardens. The king stood by the water and spoke about hope, peace, and the power of small acts of kindness. He said that this year the Night of Lights was more special because of the new friendship between Orith and Earth. He invited Jack to join him. At the water's edge, Lyra stood by Jack's side. Together they lit their lanterns. Jack's lantern glowed with a soft blue light, while Lyra's shined silver and purple. One by one, the guests lit their lanterns and set them on the water. Soon the pond was filled with floating lights, each one reflecting hope and dreams for the future. Jack watched as the lights drifted across the water. He felt a deep sense of peace and belonging. After the lanterns were set afloat, music and singing filled the night. People danced in the garden, and Jack joined in. He tried the steps of a traditional Orth dance, and everyone cheered when he finished. Lyra laughed and clapped for him. Later, as the music slowed, Lyra and Jack walked quietly by the pond. They talked about their hopes and fears. Lyra said she wanted to do more to bring peace to their worlds. Jack said he would always help her. As the night grew late, the crowd slowly left the gardens. Jack and Lyra stayed behind, sitting by the water and watching the lanterns fade into the distance. They felt tired, but happy. Lyra leaned her head on Jack's shoulder and whispered that she was grateful for his friendship. Jack smiled and said he was grateful for hers too. They sat together until the last light faded. Jack knew this night was a turning point. He felt stronger, and he knew that with Lyra by his side he could face any challenge. As they walked back to the palace, Jack looked at the stars and thought about the days ahead. He hoped that the bond between Earth and Orth would grow, and that more people would learn to trust and understand each other. He knew that this was just the beginning of something very special. The next morning the palace was quiet, but Jack woke up early. He thought about the night of lights and the way the lanterns had floated across the pond. The memory made him feel peaceful and hopeful. He wondered what the day would bring, and he felt ready for anything because he knew Lyra and her family trusted him now. He got dressed and went to the main dining room, where Lyra was waiting with her parents. Lyra greeted Jack with a smile. Her father thanked Jack for being part of the celebration. Her mother asked if Jack had enjoyed himself. Jack said it was one of the best nights of his life, and Lyra said she was glad. She told Jack that today they would meet with more visitors from other parts of Orth. People were coming to talk about new ways to build trust and share ideas with Earth. Jack felt excited but also a little nervous. He wondered what these visitors would think of him. A human from another world. After breakfast, Lyra and Jack walked together to a meeting hall filled with people. Some wore colorful clothes and some wore badges showing they were leaders from different cities or villages. Everyone looked curious and hopeful. Lyra stood beside Jack as her father welcomed the guests. He talked about the Bond of Worlds ceremony and the Night of Lights. He said that real peace came from small acts of kindness, and that Jack had shown this to everyone. The meeting began with people sharing their hopes for the future. One woman talked about building a school where human and Orithian children could learn together. A man suggested a new market where people could trade art and music from both worlds. Others talked about starting gardens and planting trees that came from both Earth and Orth. Jack listened to all the ideas and felt amazed at how quickly people wanted to work together. Some visitors asked Jack questions. They wanted to know what humans liked to eat, how they solved problems, and what made Earth special. Jack answered as best as he could. He talked about his family and the things he missed from home. He also said that he felt happy on Orth because people were kind and wanted to learn about Earth. Lyra watched him with pride and helped him when he did not know the answer to a question. As the meeting went on, a few people said they were worried. They wondered if humans would really care about Orth or if it was just a dream. One person said that not everyone on Earth would be friendly, and another worried that change would happen too fast. Jack listened to their fears. He said he understood that trust could not be built in one day. He told them that he did not have all the answers, but he promised to listen and to help whenever he could. Lyra agreed and said that every big change started with small, brave steps. After the meeting, Lyra took Jack to a small balcony high above the gardens. They looked down at the palace grounds and saw people walking, talking, and laughing. Lyra said she was proud of what they had done together, but she was also worried about what might come next. Jack told her that he felt the same way. He said he was not a hero, just a friend who wanted to help. Lyra squeezed his hand and thanked him for being honest. Later, Lyra's friends Marin, Layla, and Eli came to see them. They brought Jack a small gift, a book of star maps drawn by Marin herself. Jack thanked her and promised to take good care of it. Layla played a happy tune on her round instrument, and Eli gave Jack a tiny plant that could grow both on Earth and on Orith. The friends sat together in the sun and talked about their dreams again. Marin hoped to build her telescope. Layla wanted to write songs about peace. Eli wanted to start his garden with the new plant. As they talked, a messenger came from the council. The king wanted to see Lyra and Jack in his private study. The group wished Jack luck, and Lyra led him through quiet halls to the king's room. Inside, the king stood looking out the window. He turned and asked them to sit down. The king said that he had been thinking about the bond between their worlds. He told Lyra and Jack that he wanted to do something new. He wanted to invite humans to live and work on Orith, and he wanted Orithians to visit Earth too. The king said he hoped Lyra and Jack would help lead this effort. He asked them if they were ready for such a big responsibility. Jack felt a little scared. He said he was just a simple person, not a leader. Lyra said she felt nervous too, but she believed that with Jack's help, they could do great things. The king smiled and told them that real leaders were people who cared and tried their best, even when they were afraid. He said he trusted them. Both. The king gave them a special task. He wanted them to plan a new festival, a celebration where humans and Orithians could share food, music, art, and stories. He said the festival should be a place where everyone could meet and learn from each other. Lyra was excited by the idea, and Jack felt hope growing inside him. Over the next days, Lyra and Jack worked together to plan the festival. They met with artists, cooks, and musicians. They wrote invitations to humans on Earth and Orithians in faraway villages. Jack helped plan games that children from both worlds could play. Lyra organized a concert where Layla would play her music and Marin would show her star maps. Eli started to grow a garden where visitors could see plants from both planets side by side. As the festival day grew closer, the palace was filled with energy. Everyone wanted to help. The kitchen made new dishes, the garden was decorated with lights, and the halls were filled with paintings and sculptures. Jack and Lyra worked long hours, sometimes getting tired but always encouraging each other. They faced small problems, like finding enough space for all the guests and teaching people how to play new games. But together they found solutions. On the morning of the festival, Jack woke up early and stood by his window. He saw people from Earth and Orith coming to the palace, carrying gifts and wearing bright clothes. Jack felt nervous but also proud. He dressed in simple clothes, the way he liked, and met Lyra in the garden. She wore a dress with colors from both worlds and smiled when she saw Jack. The festival began with music and laughter. People shared food, told stories, and played games. Jack saw children from both worlds chasing each other and laughing. Lyra showed everyone the new garden where Earth and Orith plants grew together. Layla's concert filled the air with beautiful music, and Marin's star maps were the talk of the festival. Eli taught children how to plant seeds that would grow in any soil. As the sun set, everyone gathered for a final ceremony. Lyra spoke about hope and trust, and Jack thanked everyone for coming. Together they lit lanterns and set them afloat on the pond, just like on the Night of Lights. The lanterns glowed and everyone clapped and cheered. People hugged and some cried tears of happiness. Jack felt his heart grow warm, and he knew that this day would be remembered for a long time. When the festival ended, Lyra and Jack sat together by the water. They talked about everything they had done and what might happen next. Lyra said she was no longer afraid. She believed that with friends like Jack, anything was possible. Jack agreed. He said he would always stand by her, no matter what happened. As the night grew quiet, they watched the last lanterns drift across the pond, and they both felt ready for whatever the future might bring. Lyra and Jack stood apart from the crowd under the soft glow of alien lanterns. Nobody spoke. The music had faded, and only gentle whispers drifted through the air. Lyra looked at Jack with hope and concern in her pale cyan eyes. Jack felt his heart beat fast. He had never felt so honored or so afraid. He wanted to say the right words. He wanted to show Lara and her people that he cared. Lara took a small, glowing flower from a nearby table. Its petals shone like the stars they could see through the transparent ceiling. She held it out to Jack. Her fingers trembled slightly. Jack reached out and accepted the flower. He felt its soft warmth in his hand. He smiled gently at Lara. It was the first time he let his guard down completely. They walked together through the grand hall toward a quiet balcony. The soft alien breeze ruffled Lyra's pale blue hair. Jack felt the strange air cool his skin. He looked at the city lights beyond the palace walls. He had never seen anything like it on Earth. The buildings seemed alive with light and motion. Lyra spoke first. Her voice was soft but steady. She said she had invited him here to share her world and her dreams. She said she had hoped to find someone who understood her, someone she could trust and work with. Jack listened. He felt tears in his eyes. He had known Lara for only a short time, but she felt like family. Jack held the glowing flower carefully. He said he felt honored to be here. He said he wanted to help her unite their two worlds. He said he believed in friendship and trust above all. Lyra's smile grew wider. She stepped closer and placed the flower in Jack's hair. It fit perfectly like a crown. They sat on a low bench made of smooth alien stone. Lyra leaned her head on Jack's shoulder. He wrapped an arm around her. They sat quietly, listening to the distant sounds of celebration fading into the night. Jack thought about everything he had learned. He thought about how different Lyra's world was and how beautiful it was too. Lyra spoke again. She said she wanted Jack to stay here for a while. She wanted him to meet more people and learn their ways. Jack agreed. He felt eager to learn. He wanted to see every corner of her planet. Lyra's eyes shone with joy. They rose and walked back into the palace. The corridors were lined with tall crystal pillars that glowed softly. Lyra led Jack to a private chamber filled with comfortable cushions and art from her world. She invited him to rest. Jack sat and felt the soft cushions. He was tired but happy. Lyra prepared a simple meal of sweet fruit and warm tea. She poured the tea into 2 small cups. The steam smelled of honey and herbs. Jack tasted the tea. It was unlike anything he had on Earth. It warmed him from the inside. He handed a cup to Lara. They toasted quietly to new beginnings. They talked late into the night. Lyra asked Jack about Earth. Jack described simple things like rain, trees, and sunlight. He told her about his family and his home. Lyra listened closely, smiling and nodding. She asked many questions. Jack answered with excitement. He wanted her to see how humans lived. Lyra told Jack more about her planet's history. She spoke of wars long ago, of peace that followed, and of her own journey to find meaning. Jack admired her strength. He admired her kindness. He realized how lucky he was to know her. Later, Jack stood and stretched. He looked at the cushions and asked if he could sleep there. Lyra nodded. She picked up a small blanket woven from glowing threads and covered Jack with it. She wished him good rest in her soft, gentle voice. Jack lay down and closed his eyes. He felt safe. As Jack drifted toward sleep, he heard Lara whisper softly, "Thank you." Jack smiled in his sleep. He dreamed of Earth and of this strange new world together. Morning came with gentle light. The ceiling panels of the chamber opened to reveal a pale sky. Birds with silver wings flew overhead. Jack woke and saw Lyra already awake. She sat cross-legged by the window, gazing at the birds. Jack sat up. He stretched and smiled at Lara. She smiled back. They shared a simple breakfast of fruit and bread. Jack told Lyra a funny story about Earth breakfast. Lyra laughed. The sound like soft music. After breakfast, Lyra took Jack to the palace garden. Strange flowers of violet and turquoise bloomed everywhere. Water flowed in clear streams that glowed faintly. Lyra guided Jack to a pond filled with tiny fish that shimmered like jewels. Jack knelt and watched them swim. Lyra knelt beside him and pointed out patterns in the fish's movement. Jack saw beauty he had never known. As they walked, Lyra spoke of a plan to build a small research center on a neutral planet. She wanted humans and aliens to work side by side. She asked Jack if he would help. Jack felt proud. He agreed at once. He said he would work with her to make her dream real. Lara held Jack's hand tightly. She said this partnership would change their worlds forever. Jack squeezed her hand. He felt strong and ready. They returned to the palace. Lyra introduced Jack to a council of advisors. The advisors were curious and respectful. They greeted Jack warmly. Jack spoke of friendship and trust. He spoke of cooperation and hope. The advisors nodded and smiled. They offered support to Lyra. And Jack's plan. Later, Lyra and Jack walked through the palace balcony again at sunset. They watched the sky shift from pale blue to soft pink and then to deep purple. Stars began to appear. Jack pointed out a familiar constellation. Lyra looked up and learned its shape. They shared a quiet moment under the stars. Jack turned to Lyra and said he was grateful. He said meeting her changed his life. Lyra looked at him and said the same. They both knew their worlds would never be the same. That night, Lyra and Jack returned to the ceremony hall for final farewells. The guests gathered to see them off. Lyra spoke in a clear voice that all could hear. She thanked everyone for their trust. She introduced Jack as her partner in unity. Jack bowed respectfully. The crowd applauded softly. Some eyes were wet with tears. After farewells, Lyra and Jack walked to the palace gates. Beyond the gates lay a small ship waiting. Jack would return to Earth for a short time to prepare vessels and experts for the project. Lyra would travel later. Jack hugged Lyra tightly. She held him just as tightly. Jack whispered, "I will return soon." Lyra nodded and whispered back, "I will be here." They kissed gently. It was a promise, not just of love, but of a shared future. Jack boarded the ship. He waved until Lyra disappeared from sight. Lyra watched until the ship was a bright dot against the sky. Then she turned and walked back toward the palace, feeling hope in her heart. Jack flew through space toward Earth. He looked at her planet through the window and thought of Lyra. He thought of new friends and new adventures. He felt ready. The story ends with both Lyra and Jack gazing at the stars from their separate worlds. They knew the future would be hard. They also knew that together they would bring their worlds closer. In that hope they found strength. And that was only the beginning.